Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today, my guest is Will Heywood, the Chief Customer Officer at DHL Supply Chain North America. DHL Supply Chain is the world's largest contract logistics provider, helping companies gain an edge by designing and operating end-to-end logistics networks from warehousing and fulfillment to transportation, distribution, and returns. The company, DHL, has 500,000 global employees. Today, we're talking about the first 90 days in the CXO or Chief Customer Officer role. We're talking about how DHL is looking at AI, the future of logistics, and so much more. You won't want to miss this episode. Please welcome Will Heywood. Will, a warm welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. Where are you calling in from today? I like that map behind you. Where on the map are you?
I'm in central Ohio in Columbus. We're had our first big snow of the season last night, so I'm looking out at a nice winter landscape.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Will you be skiing this month?
I hope so, but I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off. End of the year
Yeah.
tends to be fairly busy for us.
Yeah, I'm in LA, so all my friends, they have to commute to the snow. But we do have a few good ski slopes, like about an hour and a half. But yes, like I'm jealous of the snow you have in your backyard because I have little kids and all they want to do is build snowmen, and it's a little bit harder for me to get to the snow.
Yeah, well, all the schools are out today, so I'm sure there's a lot of snowman
Oh, I'm
building
not
going
jealous of that. Then we would not be recording this podcast.
on.
Yeah, there's no snow days in Southern California.
Right,
But
right.
let's get to you. I'm so glad you could be here for the podcast. We have a lot of CXOs that come on the show to talk about what they do. It's actually a busy time of year for packages, for getting people things that they need. Let's just step back and talk about what DHL is. And I know you have a specific department, so let's just start there and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the podcast. I've enjoyed listening to your other episodes, so really glad to be part of that. Maybe just big picture, what DHL is. We're the largest logistics company in the world. We're based out of Bonn, Germany. Our origin story is we're the German post office. And in the late 90s, the German government decided to privatize the post office and use the float that they generated by putting it on the public markets to diversify into a large logistics company. The acquisitions that took place sort of between 99 and call it 2010 got us into the shape that we're in now. So we have four principal divisions, all of which operate globally. The Post, which is the German post office, which we still run, and that has some affiliations with other postal systems around the world. And then you have the DHL divisions, which are global forwarding, so heavyweight air and ocean freight. Express, which is a parcel business. So think in the U.S., UPS and FedEx are our principal competitors. And then the division that I'm part of, which is supply chain, and we're the largest third-party logistics company in the world. So we do big scale outsourcing, running logistics operations on behalf of our customers who tend to be on the larger end of industry across a variety of sectors. We're fairly well diversified from automotive companies to CPGs to technology companies. And we go to market by industry vertical here in North America. And that's the area that I look after as Chief Customer Officer for DHL Supply Chain.
So you've been in the role since 2024. Something I love to ask CXOs like yourself is take us back to the first 90 days. What were the most important things that you wanted to do to just get set up in those first 90 days?
Well, I started in September, and we operated on an annual calendar here. I'm responsible for our sales numbers every year. So the first order was to make sure that we hit our growth target for 2024, and that wound up. That was the first time I had gone through that exercise in that capacity. Really, sleeves rolled up, working with the teams to make sure that we closed out the projects that we needed to make our target, and at the same time set ourselves up for a successful 2025. So that was kind of a trial by fire activity. My predecessor was retiring, so we did a nice kind of handover over the course of the summer. And then, I had asked him to kind of leave it to me for the end of the year push to, let myself go through that experience pretty much unaided. He was always a phone call away, but that was probably the what took most of my attention over those first 3 months.
Yeah, the first 90 days just feel like really significant because you're setting the strategy, you're setting the groundwork for the work that you're going to be doing. And the role, there's no one size fits all to approach the chief customer officer role. Your business is so interesting. I always believe that customer experience is a logistics and operations endeavor, but you literally are a logistics company. Does that change your approach that you're doing operations for a logistics and operations company?
Let me see how to answer that. I think the thing that is interesting to me about who we are and what we do, and really what has kept me here for a long time, is we provide, I think, a very valuable service to our customers. We're deeply embedded in their overall promise to their own customers. So we store and deliver all the goods to their either end customers on the B2B side or consumers on the B2C side. And that's obviously the experience of getting something on time or not on time has a pretty big impact on a consumer's view of the company that they're working with. And putting that trust in DHL to make that kind of final interaction go well, it's meaningful. It forces us to really be excellent in every way in our operations. I mean, operations are the kind of bedrock of our business, and we know if we don't excel there, we're not going to grow with customers. We're not going to be successful in the market. So we put a lot of focus on making sure our operators have what they need from a tools and process and other resource standpoint so that they can deliver on behalf of our customers. And then that becomes, on the sales side, a calling card and really what we depend on to enable growth with existing or prospective customers in the market.
So I meet with a lot of chief customer officers. I have a networking group called CXO House, and one of the topics that always comes up is AI and how chief customer officers like yourself are using AI. Obviously, logistics AI it has been a huge game changer in the last few years. Any insights you can share about how you're using AI now?
Yeah, I'd say we're early days with it. We've had a lot of, I guess, we're trying to be pretty focused in terms of use cases where we're pointing AI. I sometimes worry that it's so buzzy in the market that everybody's sort of an inch deep, many miles wide. So we really try to focus on activities that are ripe for automation, that are, focused on jobs that probably aren't that attractive for people to work in. And we've seen, I think, the most traction on the agentic AI side. So we have a technology that helps us. We have customers who schedule deliveries into retail stores, for example. And in the old way of doing things, you'd have people sitting on a phone bank calling up, you know, hundreds of Home Depots every day and scheduling a delivery of goods. And so you think about what that job looks like. First of all, you got to get through to the store. You got to get to the right person in the store. There's a lot of back and forth in terms of, what time works, what time doesn't work. We've been able to pretty much automate that with a very human sounding agent, AI agent, that can schedule all of those deliveries sort of simultaneously. So it's, been a huge efficiency driver. It creates a much better experience for the stores themselves. And it's been really terrific for the customers that we've offered it to.
So you said you're a little skeptical. You feel like most people, I like the phrase you said, inch deep, but many miles wide. Like there's no real depth to anything that anyone's doing with AI. Where do you see the potential for AI? Are there any like gleams of opportunity that you think are interesting?
Well, I think in the delivery space, there's a lot of opportunity. So the example I gave was just kind of a scratch the surface. one, and I think we can extrapolate from that many opportunities to apply that, and that's within the supply chain division that I'm part of, or our express division, which does much more frequent deliveries to homes and what have you. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to continue with that. Likewise, any kind of call center application, see opportunity there. And then I think just sort of quality control within the facilities we run. So we'll do sort of a common activity is an inventory cycle count, where we're basically going through a very large facility trying to understand, make sure that the records we have of what's in there versus what is actually in there are matching one another. There are some promising technologies to do that on with a robot, so that you don't have to physically walk around the stores with a clipboard checking things off, and then to do some exception handling in a more automated way. So you're pointing the valuable human resource at the sort of higher end activity, while making sure that the preponderance of stuff is done correctly in an automated fashion.
Yeah, I like that. That's really helpful. I like to imagine that little robot moving around the warehouse. Would you say that you really believe that the future of logistics is here, or are we far from a world where like drones are delivering packages and flying cars and things like that? And it's a crazy question.
It's not a crazy question, actually. I started in this company in 2002, and I can say that, really for the past almost 10 years now, the the amount of automation innovation has been many fold times what I saw in my first 10 or 15 years on the job. The um, the private equity venture capital markets really opened up for automating technologies in supply chain around 2014, 2015. And I'll get the numbers wrong, but it was sort of like 140 million of private capital was investing in technology companies that were servicing logistics, either logistics companies or logistics functions and businesses, and that grew to like 3 or 4 billion in a short number of years. And so, what attracted that investment was, we got into a point where the technologies, the automations, the robotics were getting to a price point that you could get a real return on investment from. Automation in the past had been much more like a manufacturing line, where you'd need 15, 20 years to get a payback on a supply chain technology. What's come up recently or more recently, have been things where you can spend 50,000 on a piece of automating equipment and get a return in 18 months. That's got real legs to it in the market, and it's created huge opportunities for efficiency creation in the market. It's created a whole set of jobs that never existed before in supply chain, which are frankly much more interesting, and attracting different types of talent into our world. So it's been an exciting, every successive year has been more exciting in terms of what you see in a warehouse or a transportation network. I think that's only going to continue. Whether that means drone deliveries by 2030, I won't speculate on that, but I do see the wave continuing. We're in the early innings of it, and I would expect to see a lot more happen over the course of the rest of my career, for sure, and into the future.
So, because I have you on the show, we have to talk about a few pillars of customer experience that I ask everyone. So, the first is, how do you measure success? How do you know that you did your job at the end of the day and your team did their job?
Yeah, I think there are a few ways we measure success. I think there's an intuitive one around, just not intuitive. It's very real. Are we keeping our customers, and are we growing with them? Our markets are, we're an outsourced provider. Our markets tend to be more heavily insourced. So there's a lot of opportunity to capture more services, or provide more services and capture more spend from customers over time, even ones where we have a lot of activity. So if we're continuing to get new projects and grow with them, that tells us that we're doing things in the right way. We do more tactical things like customer experience surveys, net promoter scores, take kind of verbatim surveys and process through those. We'll feed that into kind of regular quarterly business reviews we have with our customers to really keep that communication avenue open in as many ways as we can. We're actively in dialogue with customers and taking their input in every way that we can. And I think we do a good job of that today. We have some areas that we think we can do even better in the future.
Yeah, I love it. I think that just the nature of what you do, you always have to look at, are you retaining your customers, and is your customer base growing? But the way you said it was interesting. It was, are we growing with our customers?
Hmm.
Like, how is that different than just, are we acquiring more customers?
So the contract logistics business, or 3PL is also called, we tend to have fairly sizable relationships with customers, and they tend to last a long time. So we'll set up we operate on a contractual basis, usually over, at minimum kind of a 3-year period, but in more and more cases, sort of a 10-year contract term. So, it's one where we're quite intimate with the people and the operations of our customers, and that provides us a great opportunity to kind of have a pole position seat for new growth opportunities with customers as we work into those relationships over those contract terms. So it's sort of a natural byproduct of just kind of where we sit in a face-to-face, day-to-day, month-to-month way with our customers. And if we don't see growth happening, it's generally a sign that um, sometimes the customer's not growing, but more often that we're missing a trick. And so we look to get involved with those early and often and make sure we give it the kind of hyper care it needs to get on the right path for future growth.
So, how do you do that? How do you figure out where the gaps are? Is it a phone call? Is it going to meet with the customer?
It can be either of those. We often have customers co-located with us in our facilities, so our customers tend to be fairly open with us about how they view our performance. That's something we value. The feedback that they give us is a real gift, and we're looking for it all the time, so that we can respond in ways that meets their needs.
When I say customer experience team to you, you are the chief customer officer for
Mhm.
your group. What does that even mean to you, customer experience team? Does that resonate or not?
It's something we've been thinking about. I think there's a tendency to relegate customer experience to uh, a sales team or a customer service team, something of that sort. It's a whole company endeavor to me. I mean, we're in business to serve customers, right? And so every person who is part of us as a service provider should be thinking about the types of customer experience that we're providing and the quality of them. And if we're not, we're kind of missing a trick. So everybody from kind of frontline associates to our general managers and operations managers out in our locations, they're providing real customer experience every minute of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Because just, customer experience team, I mean, many companies have that, but they don't really understand customer experience where I believe it's really a mindset. It's this extreme ownership.
I think that's the right way to put it. It is a mindset, and it's funny that you have to remind yourself, but I think it's sometimes human nature to just be sort of inward looking. We're here for our customers, and that's what makes the whole thing run.
Absolutely. Can you talk about some of your goals for the future of your group, like just for the next, let's say, 1 to 3 years?
We have been on a really nice growth path for a long time now. One goal is to keep that going. We have a position we're the largest provider in the industry and most highly rated by groups like Gartner we want to maintain that leadership position and extend it. We consider ourselves to be sort of stewards of the supply chain industry, and so leading in terms of what we can offer from a basket of services to customers that creates real value to them is something we're constantly pushing on. I mentioned earlier some of the changes in the market around in terms of what's available from an automation standpoint. We see that continuing, and we know that we need to stay one step ahead of that so that we can properly advise customers on, of the challenging part of the 3 or 4 billion of venture capital money in the market is there's a blizzard of technologies coming at senior supply chain leaders, which is exciting but also difficult to sort of parse through. So we work hard to identify by depending on what business you're in, what your operating profile is, going through and really down selecting. Here are the handful of technologies that you ought to be looking at to accomplish, sort of the next phase of your supply chain journey. So that's an important part. I think continuing to lead on the operations excellence side, that is the foundation, as I said earlier. And if that starts to get creaky, we'll have big problems going forward. So that's all maintaining things. I think there are some markets that we're quite excited about from a growth standpoint that we're focused in on. The healthcare and life sciences markets are growing rapidly, both from a just pure growth standpoint as well as they were late to the outsourcing game, and so there's quite a bit that we can do to assist with them as they move things along. The energy space, particularly around renewables, is a big focus for the DHL group overall, and certainly our division. We've seen a lot of growth with some pretty interesting providers of different kinds of energy sources. And then related to the energy, the data center kind of explosion is real, and the build out of that is taxing supply chains in a way that is challenging for hyperscalers, but is exciting for us because it creates a real challenge that we like to get to go to work on.
What is your role with the data centers? Like how do you help?
A few different ways. We will do the kind of setup of supply to build a new data center. So we'll stage all the construction materials for the setup,
Wow.
and then once it gets going, there is kind of a regular replenishment cycle of the goods that are in there on the tech side as well as on the HVAC and building systems side. So we have a service logistics business which will install replacement parts and take out used parts and take them into other markets for hopefully recycled use. That's what we aim for with customers. The scale is pretty shocking when you see the number of facilities that are going up and then the actual size of them. They're big facilities.
Yeah, there was a big article in the Wall Street Journal, I think yesterday, about data centers and the scramble of people related, like construction, to get those jobs because those are really good jobs. They pay
Mhm.
really well, and it's one area of growth in the US at a time when not every industry is growing right now.
Right. No, it's a big growth engine for sure. And I think if you just look at the S&P, there are seven companies or something that are carrying a lot of the growth on the financial markets, which is
Mhm.
interesting because we have thought about the question of as we've scaled up ourselves to pursue it, making sure that we're not chasing a bubble. I think we feel pretty confident, or very confident actually, that the technology is here to stay. The financial speculation that's been going on, I think, is a different story, and one that we don't really concern ourselves with a whole lot. The AI demand and infrastructure that it's going to take to meet it is real and will last, and we feel good about the role that we're playing servicing that market.
Well, this has been so interesting. I feel like I could keep you here all day and ask you so many questions, but I know our time is about up. So we have to ask you a few fun rapid fire questions before we
All
let
right,
you go. This is quick. These are quick answers, quick questions. You ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, what's the most important part of your morning routine?
I'd say my coffee.
What show are you currently streaming?
Um, Pluribus.
Same. And I wanted to tell you that because of the drones delivering her the
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
don't say it. He's not going to know what you're
yeah.
talking about.
I don't think
Pluribus.
I'm not fully caught up on it yet, but I've
Oh,
started it over the Thanksgiving
yeah. You'll
holiday.
see some drones in the episode.
Cool, good. I'll
It'll
look for it.
resonate. Hopefully you'll think of me when you do that. All right. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh, being on vacation with my family.
What is one mental health strategy for managing hard days?
Go for a walk outside.
What's your favorite type of vacation?
Outside, away from all the modern distractions of life.
Perfect. If you could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Michael Lewis.
Nice. If you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
Curious.
Perfect. This has been so fun. So good. Thank you for doing the show, Will.
My pleasure. No, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for taking the time.
And all of you, you've been tuning into the Modern Customer Podcast. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Please don't forget to like or subscribe and follow my social content on other platforms where I post content daily, including X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and more.